Yesterday, former London Mayor Ken Livingstone announced he was resigning from the Labour Party. He'd been suspended since 2016 over allegations of anti-Semitism following comments he made about Hitler and Zionism. But he said he didn't accept he was in any way guilty of anti-Semitism, although he did say he was sorry his words had caused offence and upset. So will the episode come to define him? Here's a reminder of how he got here.
You're the reason she's abolishing the GLC.
As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted 14 years ago.
The 30th Olympiad in 2012 are awarded to the City of London.
It's a good party. What does it mean? What are you doing for? Are you a German war criminal? No, I'm doing a suicide job. Right.
There will be, therefore, no apology or expression of regret to the Daily Mail Group.
Let's remember, when Hitler won his election in 1932, his policy then was that Jews should be moved to Israel. He was supporting Zionism. His boy went mad.
Ken Livingstone ending that film there with his controversial comments made about Hitler and Zionism. The Labour MP Rupert Hook joins us now. Rupert, do you think Ken was guilty of anti-Semitism?
I think it was right that he's gone. His comments caused great offence and they were lingering like a cloud. And we want to show we are a party that has zero tolerance on anti-Semitism. The fact that he seemed willfully unapologetic, he seemed unrepentant and didn't appreciate the offence that he'd caused. I think it's completely right that we draw a line under this and that he's gone. Right,
but do you believe he was anti-Semitic? I mean, that would be the reason that he felt under pressure to go.
I mean, he seemed to have this unhealthy obsession with Hitler and these deeply offensive comments that he made. I mean, he says he's been an anti-racist all his life, but the effect of those remarks, he didn't seem to have any self-awareness of them, really. I think it's right that he's gone.
I mean, the fact that he's gone and he's chosen to go himself after 2 years, do you think it's a bit of a get-out for the party that in the end they haven't actually given a verdict themselves on Ken Livingstone, despite the upset that you say he's caused?
I would agree with you, Joe. That happened in April 2016. That's when David Cameron was Prime Minister. We were still in the EU. That's eons ago. You know, babies have been born. My own mother's died since then. It's an age ago. What took the Labour Party so long is deeply troubling as well.
Now, you've known Ken for a long time. You've been involved in London politics. He may worry about being defined about what's happened in the last sort of couple of years. But how would you define him before that?
I mean, I think that there's probably different eras of Ken, like there were different eras of Michael Jackson. So the Ken of the 80s that you showed was when the GLC, it was under the dark days of Thatcherism. Some of my early memories, that number of unemployed in London that used to be projected on County Hall, kind of opposite the House of Commons, really baiting the Conservative government. And it did seem he was a very good media performer. He had this cheeky, chappy way that people felt at ease with him. And every time the Thatcher government thwarted him further, they declared his fair policy illegal. He seemed to rise up further. They did rate capping. And then in the end, ultimately, they abolished the metropolitan authorities. But he did have a, common touch or whatever. He was popular with voters. I had him come and speak for me at a dinner in Ealing before I was the MP. When was that? 2014. And it sold out in seconds. There was a waiting list, then a waiting list to the waiting list. So, I mean, he did have it, but I think he lost it.
Right. What do you think of Ken Livingstone? And obviously, we've talked a little bit about what has happened latterly and the fact that he's gone now. But he was a thorn in the side of Margaret Thatcher. Do you think he was successful at any level politically?
Well, I think in the 1980s he became one of the figures of the hard left, which helped Margaret Thatcher win elections, that people looked at Ken Livingstone and thought, well, this is how the hard left behaves. That is not what we want. He was instrumental in the splits within the Labour Party, in the way he got rid of the leader of the GLC in a coup the night after the election. It's part of the reason the Labour Party fractured in the early 80s, because he was the hard left, and the moderates in the Labour Party found him very hard to stomach.
What?
And I do think that he was maybe ahead of his time in being this sort of media performer at the same time. I wouldn't put all the problems of the 80s down to the one person, but there were different eras of him. So then when he came back, It's not the first time he's not been in the Labour Party.
Well, no, because
well.
he
In
stood against the
2000.
official Labour candidate, didn't he?
And then it was re-endorsed in 2004, and Tony Blair said, I was wrong. I thought he couldn't work with business. I thought he'd be a disaster. I was wrong. So he's had many twists and turns. That's what I mean. There have been many Ken Livingstones, but I just think, it's time to get off the stage now and accept that.
Anything you can admire about him?
He was a very effective politician. He was very good at winning elections in London, and also I'm very grateful to the work he did in the 1980s along with Arthur Scargill in making the Tories the dominant political force, because he put everybody else off.
Right, although in terms of London, of course, it has remained. Obviously, Boris was mayor for a time, a Labour city in many ways, hasn't it? So, I mean, the Tories have failed, really, to grapple with the capital in that way.
Other than Boris. Boris is an exceptional political force of nature.
Right. I mean, they say all political careers end in failure. Are you disappointed that that seems to be what's happened to Ken Livingstone? I
mean, it's sad that someone who made a great contribution to London politics, things that, he was sort of greenish tinged red, things like the congestion charging, the Oyster card, having a paperless ticket, those things were revolutionary at the time. Even the Boris bikes were actually under Ken's leadership originally.
Were, yes.
So lots of things we take for granted now. It's sad that, this sad demise of someone who could have been remembered as a great progressive, but he's blotted his copybook with this, bizarre obsession with Hitler.
I broadly agree with that. I think he played an important role in late 20th century, early 21st century politics, and it's always sad to see an important political figure end his career in essentially disgrace, and that is sad, and I'm sure that he will be remembered, particularly in the Labour Party, more for his good than for his terrible views at the end.
Right. Should the party just have got rid of him, though, rather than him going first?
Of course they should have done.
Right.
Yeah, their processes need looking at, and the new General Secretary, Jenny Formby, is stamping on this and got independent lawyers and stuff in to deal with anti-Semitism.
Ripper Hook, thank you.